A suitcase hit the floor with a dull thud. The walls, once filled with laughter, now echoed with silence. You saw that happiness was good. Today's voice was low, steady, but sharp enough to cut through bones. She folded her arms, masking her unease with a smirk. I built us a future. Look around today. The house, the cars, the life we have now. None of it came from wishes. I made it happen. Tunde turned, his face unreadable. Then, with quiet devastation, he whispered, "At what cost?" A soft tug at his trousers, a tiny voice, fragile and pleading. "Daddy, where are you going?" Ada's big round eyes glistened with unshed tears. He knelt, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "To find peace." "Then don't go." She clung to him, her sobs shaking her small frame. "Please, Daddy." His grip loosened. He looked up at his wife, the woman he once adored. Now she was a stranger, a shadow of greed wearing the face of the woman he married. Without another word, he picked up his suitcase. The door clicked shut. Silence. Ada wailed, but her mother just stood there, paralyzed. For the first time, the weight of her wealth felt heavier than ever. The night Tunde left, rain poured in torrents, drumming against the roof like a warning from the heavens. Ada eventually cried herself to sleep, curled up on the couch, her tiny body shaking with hiccups. But her mother, Chika, just sat still, frozen in the center of her opulent living room, staring at the untouched dinner on the table. Tunde would come back. He was just angry. He needed time. That was what she told herself. But deep down, a cold, creepy dread whispered otherwise. 2 days passed, then a week. No calls, no messages. She tried reaching out, but Tunde's number was disconnected. She sent emails, messages to his friends. Nothing. It was as if he had disappeared into thin air. Meanwhile, Ada barely spoke. Her once lively chatter was replaced by silence. She refused to eat much, refused to play. Every night, she sat by the window, waiting for her father to return. And Chika, she buried herself in work. Her business was thriving after all. The deal she made had elevated her into a new class of wealth. Luxury cars, elite connections, private meetings in places ordinary people could only dream of. But with success came whispers. "You heard about Chika, right? The way she crushed her competition. Some say she reeled families to get ahead. Her wealth is cursed. Mark my words, she will pay for it." Chika ignored them. Let them talk. She had worked too hard to let jealousy get to her. Then, one evening, just as she was about to step into a high-profile business dinner, her phone rang. Unknown caller. She hesitated, then answered. A deep, gruff voice on the other end sent chills down her spine. "You thought you could take everything and walk away untouched?" Her breath itched. "Who is this?" A dark chuckle. "Your sins are catching up with you, Chika. You will see soon enough." The line went dead. Her fingers trembled as she lowered the phone. For the first time in years, fear slithered into her heart. Something was coming, and she wasn't ready. Chika's grip tightened around her phone. Her heart pounded so loudly she could hear it in her eyes. "Your sins are catching up with you, Chika. You will see soon enough." Who was that? A competitor she had crushed? An investor she had outsmarted? Someone from her past? She shook her head. This was paranoia. Just another coward trying to shake her confidence. Straightening her dress, she stared into the high-profile dinner like nothing had happened. She smiled, laughed. shook hands with people who pretended to admire her. But no matter how much wine she drank, the voice from the phone call echoed in her mind. Then, as she was leaving, she saw it, a black envelope sitting on the dashboard of her car. Frowning, she looked around the parking lot, deserted, quiet, but something about the stillness felt wrong. She reached for the envelope with hesitant fingers and flipped it open. Inside was a single sheet of paper, a message scrawled in bold red ink. You took everything from me. Now, I will take everything from you, one by one. A chill spread through her body. Her hands shook, but she clenched them into fists. Enough of this nonsense, she muttered, tossing the letter onto the seat. But when she got home, the fear returned. Ada was already asleep, curled in a ball on her bed. Chika sat beside her, watching the soft rise and fall of her little chest. She brushed a stray curl from her daughter's face, a sudden tightness forming in her throat. She had worked so hard to build this life. She wouldn't let anyone take it from her. But deep inside, a terrifying thought whispered, what if it was already slipping away? Then, a loud crash came from the living room. Chika's breath itched. Her body stiffened. Someone was inside the house. Chika's pulse pounded in her ears. She grabbed her phone, her fingers hovering over the emergency dial. Another sound, this time closer. A slow, deliberate creak of the floorboards. Her heart clenched. This wasn't a robbery. Whoever was inside wasn't here for money. Taking a shaky breath, she stepped out of Ada's room, moving silently down the dimly lit hallway. She peeked around the corner. A shadow moved. Chika sucked in a sharp breath. Then, a figure lunged from the darkness. She screamed, stumbling backward as a hand clamped over her mouth. Her phone slid from her grasp, crashing to the floor. Shh! A low voice rasped against her ear. You wouldn't want to wake the little girl. Her blood ran cold. Whoever this was, they knew about Ada. She struggled, but the grip on her tightened. You don't recognize me, do you? The voice continued, taunting. After everything you did? Chika's mind raced. The voice was familiar, but distorted by anger, by hate. Then, the intruder stared into the light. Chika gasped. It was someone she thought she had destroyed a long time ago. Chika's breath caught in her throat. The man standing before her was leaner than she remembered. His once polished suit replaced with worn-out clothes, but his eyes, burning with unfiltered rage, were unmistakable. Chide. Once they had been business partners. He trusted her, invested in her vision. But when a high-stakes deal came along, Chika had made a ruthless choice. She cut him out, stole his investors, and crushed his company. He had disappeared after that. Some said he left the country, others whispered that he went bankrupt. But now, here he was, back from the ashes. I told you I would take everything from you, Chide murmured, a smirk twisting his lips. Did you think I would just let it go? Chika swallowed hard, forcing confidence into her voice. I don't know what you think you're doing, but if you touch me or my daughter, you will regret it. Chide chuckled, stepping closer. Oh Chika, I'm not here to hurt you. That would be too easy. He crouched, picking up her falling phone. He held it up, smirking at the cracked screen. Chide twirled the phone in his fingers, a smirk never fading. You see, Chika, I learned something from you. Real power isn't about force, it's about control. Chika's stomach twisted. What do you want? Chide's eyes glittered. To watch you lose, just like you watched me lose everything. He leaned in, voice low and menacing. By the time I'm done, you won't just be broke, you'll be alone, powerless and desperate. A cold sweat broke across Chika's skin. She needed to get to Ada. Her eyes flickered toward the hallway, but Jide saw it. He smirked, stepping back casually. "Oh, don't worry. Your daughter is safe. For now." Rage flared in Chika's chest. "If you—" "Relax," Jide cut in. "I'm not a monster, unlike you. I don't destroy innocent people. My fight is with you." He dropped her phone on the table and turned toward the door. "By the way," he added, glancing over his shoulder, "you might want to check your bank accounts." With that, he walked out, leaving the door slightly open. Chika lunged for her phone, her hands shaking as she tapped into her banking app. Transaction failed. Account restricted. She gasped, checked another account. Same thing. Every single one was locked. Her empire was crumbling, and Jide had just started. Chika barely slept that night. She paced the floor of her bedroom, her mind racing. Jide had locked her accounts. He had power, connections, but he couldn't take her reputation. Or so she thought. By morning, the nightmare had only just begun. Her phone buzzed non-stop with notifications, calls, messages, news alerts. She opened one and froze. Scandal! Business tycoon Chika exposed for fraud. Her breath itched. She clicked on the link. A viral article detailed how she had built her empire by manipulating investors, backstabbing partners, and engaging in fraudulent deals. Screenshots of confidential emails, real emails, were attached as proof. Her hands trembled. How did Jide get this? Another notification popped up. A video. She clicked. Her voice played, cold and calculating. "I don't care what happens to Jide. Cut him out. If he fails, he falls. Business is war." Chika's blood turned to ice. It was a recording from years ago, one she had long forgotten, but now it was everywhere. The comment section was brutal. "This woman is a snake." So, this is how she made it to the top. Disgusting. She deserves everything coming to her. A call came through. Her assistant. "Madam," the girl's voice shook. "We have a problem. Investors are pulling out. Sponsors too. There is talk of legal action." Chika's knees nearly buckled, and then a tiny voice from behind her. "Mommy, what's happening?" Chika turned slowly. Ada stood in her pajamas, rubbing her sleeping eyes. But what broke Chika wasn't the innocence in her daughter's face. It was the TV behind Ada, where her own face flashed across the news. Her empire was in flames, and the whole world was watching. Chika straightened her back, clenching her fist. If Jide thought she would roll over and accept defeat, he didn't know her at all. First, she needed information. She called her most trusted lawyer, Barrister Uche. "I need dirt on Jide. Find me something. Anything I can use." Uche sighed. "Chika, your accounts are frozen. Your reputation is in the mud. You are not in a position to fight." "I don't care. Find something." That night, she stayed up, digging through old business records, emails, anything that could expose Jide. Hours passed. Nothing. Then, an email, a deleted thread recovered from an old backup. Subject: illegal fund diversion. Chide's signature found. Chika's lips curled into a slow, dangerous smile. Jide wasn't as clean as he pretended to be. But just as she was about to forward the email to Uche, her screen flickered, then went black. A new message appeared. "Nice try, Chika, but I'm always one step ahead." Her stomach twisted. Jide knew. And he was watching. Chika stared at the screen, her heartbeat steadying. Jide thought he had control. He thought she was desperate. That was his mistake. She needed to make him doubt himself, to make him wonder if she had more power than he realized. So she played her first move. The next morning, a rumor spread like wildfire in business circles. Chika had secured a secret investor willing to back her comeback. Anonymous sources whispered that she still had powerful allies, that she wasn't done yet. Chide saw the headlines. Sources claim Chika is negotiating a major deal behind closed doors. Could she make a comeback? His response came fast. A call, and no number. She picked up but said nothing. Chide's voice was calm, too calm. You're bluffing. Chika smiled. Am I? A pause. Chide exhaled sharply. No one is coming to save you, Chika. Then, why are you so nervous? She could almost hear his jaw tighten. That was when she knew he was starting to doubt himself, and doubt was all she needed to break him. Chika needed Chide to act rashly. He was careful, but if she pushed the right buttons, she could make him overplay his hand. So, she made her next move. She leaked fake insider information to a journalist, claiming that she had incriminating evidence against someone powerful in the business world. She made sure the wording was vague, but just enough to suggest it could be Chide. By noon, the internet was buzzing. Anonymous source claims to have debts on top corporate figure. Revenge plot unfolding? Chide would see it. He would wonder, did she really have something? Had she outplayed him? Sure enough, he took the bait. That night, an email popped into her inbox. Subject, let's talk. She smirked. Chide never wanted to talk. He wanted to assess the threat, to see if he needed to strike first. But Chika was already 10 steps ahead. She replied, let's meet. I have something you will want to see. She knew he would come, because now Chide was the one afraid. The meeting was set at a high-end lounge. Chika arrived first, dressed in quiet confidence, her face unreadable. Chide walked in minutes later, his posture stiff, his eyes scanning her like a predator, unsure if he was walking into a trap. He sat. Show me what you have. Chika leaned back, sipping her drink. So eager. Afraid, Chide? He smirked, but there was tension in his jaw. If you had anything, you would have used it by now. Chika slid a folder across the table. Go on. Look. Chide hesitated, then flipped it open. His face darkened. Inside were fake documents, suggesting that his company was involved in illegal financial activities. Of course, they weren't real, but Chide didn't know that. His reaction told her everything. He swallowed hard, his fingers tightening around the pages. Then, in a low voice, he growled, "What do you want?" Chika smiled. She had him. But before she could answer, Chide snatched the folder, pulled out his phone, and dialed the number. "Shut down all servers," he ordered, his voice sharp. "Erase everything now." Chika's breath caught. He had just confirmed his guilt, and she had it all recorded. Her phone, discreetly placed on the table, was running a voice recorder. Chide looked up, suddenly realizing his blunder. But it was too late. Chika leaned forward, eyes gleaming. Checkmate! Chide's face paled as the realization hit him. He had trapped himself. Chika picked up her phone, stopping the recording with a satisfied smile. Now, here's what is going to happen. Chide gritted his teeth. "You think you can?" "I don't think, Chide. I know." She leaned in, voice dangerously calm. "You are going to fix everything you destroyed. Unfreeze my accounts, clear my name, and make my investors trust me again." Chide clenched his fist. "And if I refuse?" Chika smirked. "Then this recording goes public, the same way you exposed me." Silence. She saw the war in his eyes. His entire empire could crumble if this got out. Finally, he exhaled sharply. "What else?" Chika's gaze darkened. "You are going to disappear. Walk away from my life, my business, everything. If I ever hear your name in my circles again, this goes straight to the authorities. Chide's jaw tensed. He hated losing, but Chika had him cornered. His voice was tight with resentment. But know this, one day the game will turn again. Chika smiled. Then I will be ready. The damage wasn't undone overnight, but piece by piece, Chika rebuilt what she had lost. With her accounts restored and her name cleared, investors slowly returned. The media, hungry for a new narrative, shifted the story. The woman who outsmarted her rival. She made a few strategic moves, regaining control. One night, she stood on her balcony, watching the city lights. Ada walked up beside her, holding her hand. You won, didn't you, Mom? Chika looked down at her daughter and smiled. Yes, but the real lesson? I learnt what truly matters. She had chased wealth at all costs before, but this time she would be smarter, because power wasn't just about having everything. It was about knowing when to stop. In the aftermath of her ruthless comeback, Chika realized that no amount of regained power could replace what she had lost. The storm with Chide had exposed not only her vulnerabilities in business, but also the deep fissures in her personal life. With her empire slowly rebuilding, a deeper journey began, the quest to mend her broken marriage. A week after her showdown with Chide, Chika found herself standing before a modest cafe on the city's outskirts, a far cry from the boardrooms and lavish offices that once defined her. Inside, near a window where soft daylight spilled over the worn wooden tables, sat Tunde, his eyes, distant yet familiar, held a guarded tenderness as he watched Ada quietly drawing at a corner table. Taking a steady breath, Chika crossed the room. Every step felt heavy with years of regret and lessons learned. When Tunde looked up, his gaze flickered with a mix of pain and cautious hope. Chika, he said quietly, almost as if testing the sound of her name. She slid into the seat opposite him, her voice low and earnest. I had to come today. I lost everything that truly mattered. Our family, our happiness. I chased wealth until it consumed me. I have learned that power and money are hollow without the love and trust of those who truly care. Tunde's eyes searched us, silently weighing the sincerity that now shone through the remorse and determination in her face. You left me and Ada with nothing but promises of wealth, promises that shattered under their own weight. Tears welled in Chika's eyes. I know, I hurt you both. I was blinded by greed, but now I see that the greatest fortune isn't measured in bank balances. It is in forgiveness, in family, in second chances. I'm ready to do whatever it takes to rebuild that trust. Tunde hesitated, his hands trembling slightly as he reached for Ada, who looked up with a small, hopeful smile. Finally, he sighed. It won't be easy. Trust, once broken, takes time to mend. But seeing you here, admitting your mistakes, it gives me hope. For hours, they talked in that quiet cafe, a conversation laden with memories of both love and loss. They revisited old dreams, discussed painful missteps, and tentatively outlined a path forward, one that promised healing and mutual effort. As they parted that evening, Tunde reached out and squeezed Chika's hand. Let's try to rebuild, step by step, for Ada, for us. Chika's smile, though tinged with sorrow, was resolute. Together, she whispered, understanding at last that true wealth was not in the assets she once hoarded, but in the love and forgiveness that could, piece by piece, restore what had been broken. Chika's journey had taken her through betrayal, ruthless battles, and the bitter taste of regret. Each twist forced her to confront the truth that no empire was worth the price of a fractured heart. In fighting back against her enemies, she had also waged a war within herself, a war she now strove to win. In the quieter days that followed, while her business slowly regained its footing, Chika dedicated herself to nurturing the bonds that truly mattered. With Tunde and Ada by her side, she learned that reconciliation was not an end point, but a continuous journey, one that required vulnerability, honesty, and above all, love. Her life, once driven by a thirst for wealth, had transformed into a testament to redemption, and in every shared laugh, every quiet moment of understanding with Tunde, and every glimpse of Ada's radiant smile, Chika discovered that the riches of the heart were worth far more than any fortune.